Torah says that the Torah in this week's parsha says the Torah starts with a famous mitzvah of Bikurim, of bringing the first fruits to Yerushalayim Kodesh. From the 7 fruits which Eretz Yisrael is praised with, says the Torah, you should bring these fruits to Yerushalayim Kodesh, to the amidst, you bring it to the Kohen. So the Torah Hagdosha starts with the following words. The Torah says like this: V'hoya will be Ki Savo, when you will come ela oretz, to the land. Asha Hashem aloikecha, that Hashem your Hashem noisen lecha, gives it to you, nachlo, as an inheritance, v'yirishta, as a portion, v'yirishta, you will inherit it, v'yishavta ba, and you will settle in it. So first, just the perspective of this mitzvah, says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, that the Torah starts with 4 very important things to keep in mind in order for us to be successful in Eretz Yisrael, in our Heilige land. Says the Torah, we have to keep in mind 4 very important things. So the Torah starts v'hoya. V'hoya means simcha. Where it says v'hoya, it means an exciting simcha thing. Says the Torah, the big simcha would be Ki Savo el ha'oretz. When we're zoichet to enter Eretz Yisrael, to enter Artzeinu Hagdosha, that's when we have simcha. That's the first thing. So that is the overall idea, that the simcha we have is Ki Savo el ha'oretz, entering into Eretz Yisrael. But we have to keep in mind, in order for us to be successful in our Heilige land, we have to remember Asha Hashem aloikecha noisen lecha, that Hashem, our Hashem, is the one giving it to us. We have to always keep in mind that it's not koichi v'oitzim yadi. It's not our own strength and our own power that gives us Eretz Yisrael. We have to keep in mind Artzeinu Hagdosha we have in the schus, because Hashem aloikecha noisen, because Hashem is the one who gives it to us. And we have to remember that when we settle in Artzeinu Hagdosha, we should settle in a way that we should be there, but we have to keep in mind, yes, v'yirishta v'yishavta ba, we have to conquer, we have to take over Eretz Yisrael. There's a mitzvah of yeshivas haaretz, but we have to remember v'lakachta mereishis pri adama, called pri adam. We have to take the first fruits of everything to stay in check, so to say, says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, not to lose our focus that Artzeinu Hagdosha Eretz Yisrael is a matana, is given to us from Hashem. So basically, if a person, v'hoya Ki Savo el ha'oretz, the simcha would be when we remember that we settle in Eretz Yisrael. Yes, we settle in Eretz Yisrael, but remember, who is the one who gives us, who gave Eretz Yisrael to us? Asher Hashem aloikecha noisen lecha v'lakachta mereishis kol pri adama. Take the first ripened fruits and bring it to Hashem, which is demonstrating that Hashem is the one who gives us all this delicious and geshmaka fruits in Eretz Yisrael. The Moir V'Shemesh, he explains the whole background of this idea of Bikurim. And he says, why is it when a person brings the 7 ripened fruits, the 7 shivas haminim, the 7 species that Eretz Yisrael was blessed with, and you bring it to the amidst, to the Kohen, why is it that the Torah says that you should also mention Arami Oividavi, which means Lavan wanted to kill us? So while you're standing there and you're so grateful to Hashem, which you're not chas v'sholem kafu toiva, you're recognizing the good that Hashem gives to you, you also mention Lavan or Arami, and you also mention the history that we went through, the whole thing that we went through when we were in Mitzrayim. Why is it that we mention Lavan or Arami, and we mention the shibud, the slavery that we had in Mitzrayim? And the Torah talks quite a few psukim over here. The Torah says that the Mitzrayim were bad to us, they pained us, they gave us a lot of hard work, and then we screamed to Hashem, we screamed, we basically reached out to Hashem, and He listened to our voice, and He saw every pain that we had, and He took us out of Mitzrayim. What is the connection between bringing the seven, the chita, sa'ira, gefen, all the seven ripened fruits that Eretz Yisrael was nishtabeach with, that is praised with, to the Kohen, to the Beis HaMikdash? What is the connection between the fruits, Lavan, and Mitzrayim? So he says some very powerful, fascinating idea. He says, one of the very big struggles that we people have, we get sucked in to everything that goes on around us. We have so many distractions. As we all know, we're distracted by so many physical things. The Olam Haza, this world, there's so many distractions around us that get us distracted to lose the focus of our main mission in this world, which is serving Hashem, doing mitzvahs, becoming closer to the Rabbeinu Shalom. This is the main focus of a Yid. So we lose this focus. Therefore, Hashem, who wants us to keep on remembering and keep us on track, that we shouldn't lose the focus, He gives us different mitzvahs. Obviously, all the mitzvahs are to connect to Hashem, but certain mitzvahs are very, very clear that it's to take away the distraction and to get us focused. One of those mitzvahs is the mitzvah of Bikurim. Because when a person is in his field and he's so immersed in working his field, in plowing his field, in harvesting his field, it's very easy for the person to get totally distracted, so to say, and totally schlepped in to all that's going on and forget that basically everything is the Rabbeinu Shalom. In order that it should grow, rain should fall, everything, we need Hashem. Not to lose this distraction. And this is really something that we have so many times in the Torah. We see this same concept that Hashem tells us that we need to have Shemitah in Eretz Yisrael. The 7th year is a year that everyone puts everything aside, and people were sitting in Beis Medrash and learning. Again, the same idea, not to fall in to the trap of losing focus. What is really our mission in life? Our mission in life is that we should take everything and serve with everything the Rabbeinu Shalom, and take all the gashmias, all the physicality that we have, and elevate it to Hashem, and be closer to Hashem through the Olam Haza, through this world. Says the Mori V'Shemesh, he says something so beautiful. He says, Lavan or Arami, the big thing of Lavan, says the Mori V'Shemesh, he quotes a Medrash, Lavan wanted Yaakov to work 24/7. He basically, as Yaakov Avinu himself complained, Yaakov said, by day, achalani choyrev, I was in the heat. The kerach ba'loila, he complained to Lavan, he said, I worked for you bitterly, very hard, by day, by night. Why did Lavan want him to work so hard? Says the Medrash, because Lavan wanted Yaakov to be distracted. He should fall in to the physical world, to the world of distraction, to the world of removing us from the source of Ruchnius, which is the source of every Yiddish neshama. And he was hoping this way Yaakov will be schlepped into the Olam Haza, and this way Klal Yisrael, the entire nation of Klal Yisrael, would basically perish, meaning vanish. There won't be Klal Yisrael. If Yaakov Avinu falls into the Olam Haza trap, there won't be the Shvatim, the Heilige Shvatim. So he wanted to get Yaakov Avinu to be distracted into the Olam Haza and to lose focus. And obviously Yaakov Avinu didn't let himself. Yaakov Avinu kept focus even while he was shepherding the sheep. As we know in the Medrash, he was davening, he was saying Tehillim, he was connecting to Hashem. So Yaakov Avinu, with all the the challenges that were surrounding him, and with all that he wanted, that Lavan wanted to get him, to suck him in, Yaakov overcame that, and he was able to establish the Heilige Shvatim. In Mitzrayim, says the Moed Vishemesh, the same thing happened. Why did Paro give Yidden such a hard work? Obviously, he wanted the Bnei Yisrael physically to become less and less. He didn't want Bnei Yisrael to become Bnei Yisrael Yifrish Paru V'Yifritzu. They were basically exploding. They were becoming more and more. He didn't want that. But besides that, he wanted the Bnei Yisrael to be distracted. And by being distracted, by being into the hard labor of building Pisayim and Ramses, of building all this, they will lose focus. And once they lose focus, they won't be mikusha to the Rebbeinu Shalom, they won't have a connection with Hashem. They'll vanish, they'll disappear, they'll intermarry, they'll chas v'shalom become part of the society. So this is basically what Lavan wanted and what Parai wanted. Says the Marvi Shamish, when a person comes into Eretz Yisrael, it's so easy for Klal Yisrael to get distracted and go off track. It's so easy for Klal Yisrael to chas v'shalom lose the connection with Hashem. Therefore, says Hashem, whenever you have this first ripened fruits, you would like to bite into it. You would like to eat it. You would like to mamish have pleasure from it. Stop for a moment. Stop everything for a moment. Put everything aside. Put it into a basket. Make the basket beautiful. And march to Yerushalayim. Come up to Yerushalayim. Put all the distractions aside. Come to the Kohen. Come to the Beis HaMikdash. Come to the place where the Kahanim served Hashem 24 hours, 7 days a week. Stick around a little bit around these Yidden who are serving Hashem 24/7. Now when you go back to your own day-to-day, whatever you do, obviously you'll still be able to stay on check and to stay on track. So the whole idea of the Bikurim is the same idea which Yaakov Avinu, Lavan, wanted to get Yaakov distracted and he didn't let himself. The same thing what Pare wanted to distract Klal Yisrael and they didn't let themselves. This is what we are saying when we bring Bikurim. We thank Hashem. We're grateful to Hashem that He always gives us opportunities that we should be able to stay on track and to be able to steig and to become better people and better Yidden. So that is the idea which Bikurim teaches us. There's another interesting idea which the Jewish Chain mentions, which has to do with the time that we're now in. We're now at the end of the year of Tafshin Pei Hey, and we're entering now Rosh Hashanah of Tafshin Pei Vav, and we're hoping and we're davening that Hashem should have mercy on us, that obviously the year should end in a good note. We shouldn't hear of any chas v'sholem, agmas nefesh, and things that we don't want to hear of. And things should be good for the Yidden and for the entire world. And we're hoping that the new year will start with the same note and it will continue. He says, Bikurim teaches us it's important to start with on the right path. By us, when a chassan and kala get married, we tell the chassan and the kala, not only by us, it's a tradition by lots of people. We keep on saying you should enter either the house or the chasana hall with the right foot. Enter with the right foot. This is the concept when a chassan kala, when they're about to establish a new home, to start the new home with a positive note, in a positive way, and then davening and hoping to the Rebbeinu Shalom that the entire life will continue this way, and this couple will be able to flourish and to have shalom bayis and to have everything they need. Says this Jewish Chain, Bikurim is not a proteistic concept, meaning it's not only one thing that the Torah teaches us is Bikurim. It's something that the Torah teaches us, which is a very broad concept. Just like Bikurim, when you have the first ripened fruits, Hashem says, use it in a positive way. Come up to the Beis HaMikdash, give it to the Kohen, do something positive with your first fruits. Says the Jewish Chain, the same is with every rashis, every beginning, in every time, in every different thing in a person's life. He says Rosh Hashanah is the rashis of the year. Take this rashis, the beginning, which is Rosh Hashanah, and make it as positive as possible as you can make it. Therefore, we have all these simonim, all these different things that we eat. We have the honey that we dip in. We dip the honey into the challah into honey. We dip the apple in honey. We do so many different things, which is everything that's surrounding this idea of the positive note, starting the year with a positive note, which is basically setting the tone for the entire year. He says Rosh Chodesh is the same thing. Rosh Chodesh, do something nice. Be happy on Rosh Chodesh. It will set the tone for the entire month. He says Shabbos Kodesh, the same thing. Shabbos Kodesh should be a very uplifting time, an exciting time, a time of Shiras v'Sishbachos, thanking Hashem. When you set the tone of the week, which is Shabbos, in a positive way, it will be'ezus Hashem continue this way for the entire week. So this is basically another way of seeing Bikurim, besides what the Marv Shemesh says, to stay focused, to not fall into the physical world. It's also to take this beginning and turn it into a very positive thing, hoping by taking this beginning and turning it into a positive, taking it and making it a positive thing, it will continue this way, and this is the way it will continue. It will go on. This Shabbos, we're actually into the second last Shabbos of the year. This year we have longer slichos than usual. Not usual, but lots of years we have less. This year we have 2 weeks, 2 Shabbosim of slichos. The Chedusha Erim, the Gerer Rebbe, he says, the famous Chazal, the Chachamim say, Ilmolei Shamru Yisrael Shtei Shabbosos. If only the Jewish nation, the Yiddish Kinderlich, would have kept 2 Shabbosos, 2 Shabbosim, Miyad Hoyunu Galim, they would have been redeemed right away. So he says, unfortunately, we're still in Golus. It doesn't only apply to the physical Golus that will be taken out physically of exile. It also applies to the spiritual exile that we are in, that we're so busy. Our cup, our head is so distracted with so many things, like we said before, which Bikurim is basically demonstrating. We're so distracted. We have so many things going on. It says the Chedusha Erim, when a person puts in the effort into these 2 Shabbosim, he says these 2 Shtei Shabbosim, he says, apply to the 2 Shabbosim of the end of the year. This Shabbos Ki Savo and next Shabbos Nitzavim. When we put in, when we're excited about Shabbos, we are singing Shabbos Miros. We say Divrei Torah. We make the Shabbos an uplifting Shabbos this week and the next week. This will give us a Geula, which means a spiritual Geula for the entire year, which is basically setting the tone for next year. Shtei Shabbosos miyad hoyne galim. When we do the Shtei Shabbosos, which is this week and the following week, miyad hoyne galim. Now, talking about Shabbos Kodesh, just appreciating Shabbos. Let's put it this way: The Medrash says, we know that a malach has 6 wings. Every malach has sheish kinefayim, 6 wings. Says the Medrash, every day of the week, the malach says, praises Hashem with one of his wings. When it comes Shabbos, so this is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Erev Shabbos. Every day they praise Hashem with one wink. When it comes Shabbos Kodesh, the Malachim are like wondering, what's going to be with Shabbos? We don't have a wing. We don't have a 7th wing. Says Hashem to the Malachim, don't worry. I have a wing down here, Ba'aretz, in this world. And this is Klal Yisrael. Says Hashem, when the Bnei Yisrael, when the Yiddish Kinderlach, they praise me on Shabbos Kodesh, I take more pleasure than you're praising me throughout the week. Hashem takes more pleasure from Klal Yisrael, from the Bnei Yisrael's praising him on Shabbos Kodesh than the Malachim praising him every single day. Says the Chidush Harim, we don't understand what this wing is all about. What is this wing which the Malachim praise Hashem? What is this all about? We don't understand what it is. We also can't comprehend what does it mean Hashem loves our praise more than the Malachim's praise. But one thing that we know, that Shabbos Kodesh, says the Chidush Harim, praising Hashem is so powerful that it's overriding the praising of the Malachim throughout the week. And Hashem says, I want to listen to the praises of Klal Yisrael. There's one of the Rishonim, which made a sefer, Oyer Zerua, famous sefer. He brings a pasuk from this week's parsha, a very famous pasuk, and he explains it in a very beautiful way. He says like this. In Perek Chavav, pasuk Yud Zayin and Yud Ches, it says like this: Es Hashem he'emarto hayoim, which is a pasuk which not easy to teach, to translate, but it means Hashem he'emarto, I make special Hashem hayoim today. Liyois l'chol elokim, that he should be to you for Hashem. V'leleches b'drachav v'lishmoi chukav v'mishpatav to mitzvoisav v'mishpatav. So Hashem, we make Hashem unique. V'Hashem emircha hayoim, Hashem makes us today unique. Liyois lo la'am segula, to be a chosen nation. So he says, what is this hayoim? What is this whole thing talking about? Says the Oyer Zerua. Listen, the Oyer Zerua says hayoim refers to Shabbos Kodesh. Shabbos Kodesh is a time that we put aside everything and we praise Hashem. We put aside all of our daigis, as we all know, all of our worries that we have, as we all know. Chazal teach us, when Shabbos comes in, Vay of the nefesh, we put aside all this daigis, all this worrying that we have throughout the week. Shabbos Kodesh, we enter to a whole different situation. We enter to a ruchniisdige domain, and that's when we are into praising Hashem, learning Torah, saying Divrei Torah. And this is what the pasuk says. Says there is a ruah. This is one of the Rishonim 1,000 years ago. He says, as Hashem Emarta Ayoim, on Shabbos is a time when we are praising. Emarta, he says, means talking and davening. That's why he says on Shabbos we do more davening. We know from the Rizal, which was later, we do l'chuneranana, and we do l'chadoidi, mizmoshila yom HaShabbos. We add addition to the davening. Shabbos morning, we add a whole bunch of pieces of Tehillim, all because Shabbos is a time that we praise Hashem. And Shabbos is a time when Hashem says, I am here to listen to the praises of, to what Klal Yisrael are praising me, and it gives me more pleasure than the praises that I hear from the Malachim the entire week. So we have an amazing opportunity. And according to the Chedush Arim, these two Shabbosim are the two Shabbosim when Hashem says, if you are going to put in the effort that you should put in into Shabbos Kodesh in it with an exciting way, being excited for Shabbos, singing Zmiris in an exciting way, being uplifted in Shabbos, you have this opportunity the last 2 weeks. Miyad hoyinu golem, it would bring Geula. Hopefully it will bring the Geula from the Golus, from the exile. But in any case, it brings, says the Chedush Arim, Geula, that we should be able to have a year, that we should be able to be peaceful and be happy and be uplifted. The Bnei Yisachar, we know that this week, the Torah, towards the ends of the Torah, we have all the Teichacha, the rebuke, that the Rabbeinu Shalom tells us, if Chas v'Shalom, if we will not keep the Torah and mitzvahs, things will happen to us. Hashem Yishmereinu. We should not know of these things. But towards the end of the Teichacha, we know a very famous pasuk, but it's so fascinating. And the Bnei Yisachar, the way he sees it, is also beyond. In Perek Chavches, pasuk Mem Zayin, the Torah says, why is it that we go through all these suffering? Says the Torah, Tachas. It's because Asher lo yavadeto as Hashem Elokecha. You did not serve Hashem, your Hashem, b'simcha, with simcha, uvtuv leivov, with good harness, meroiv koil, when you had everything that you needed. In other words, the Torah says, Hashem says, the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu says it, why is it that we suffer and we go through a lot? It's because we're lacking the simcha, the excitement, the feeling of being special. Being a yid is special. Being connected to Hashem is special. We lose this, and we lose this simcha, serving Hashem with simcha. Says the Bnei Yisachar, Asher, the word Asher, which is Aleph Shin Reish, he says Tachas, the way he says it, but this is obviously not the simple pshat, but he says like this. He says, if you take the next letter from the word Asher, in other words, the next letter, the letter after Aleph from Asher is base. In other words, after Aleph in the Aleph base is base. The second letter from the word Asher is Shin. What is the letter after Shin? Saf. What's the next one? Reish. What is the letter after Reish? Shin. If you put together these three letters, Beis Tav Shin, Beis Shin Tav, it's Shabbos. Says the Torah, says the Bnei Yisachar. The reason why we suffer, we go through so much in exile in Golus is because we don't appreciate what Shabbos is all about. We don't appreciate that we need to be uplifted in Shabbos. We have to be happy, proud, and excited that we have the privilege to be a Yid and to have Shabbos Kodesh. We're lacking that simcha. Says the Bnei Yisachar, Tachas Asher, the letters after Asher with Shabbos. Because Shabbos lo yavadet as Hashem Elokecha b'simcha v'tuv leivav. You lost the focus on Shabbos. You were not happy b'simcha on Shabbos Kodesh. Therefore, unfortunately, we go through so much. So the Bnei Yisachar spins another idea with this idea that we said before from the Chedush Arim. Besides that, this last 2 weeks of the year, we should put in the effort of the excitement and to be uplifted in Shabbos. It's the entire year. Every Shabbos Kodesh, says the Torah, Tachas, take the letters which is after Asher, which is Shabbos, because of Shabbos that you were not avadet as Hashem Elokecha b'simcha. You lost the simcha in Shabbos Kodesh. Unfortunately, that's why we go through so much suffering. So we see this idea that Shabbos Kodesh, which we all know, Shabbos Kodesh, eating the 3 meals of Shabbos, saves us from the Milchama of Goy Gemogoy. It takes us out of so many tzaris, so many things that we should chas v'sholom not know about. So we have over here from so many different Gedolei Olam telling us that Shabbos Kodesh is an amazing thing. Through Shabbos Kodesh we could reach so many amazing things. Everyone, this is a famous thing, but it's worthwhile to share. We know that Rabbi Moshe Feinstein once explained, why is it when the beginning of America, when America was, becoming established, and there were very few Yidden who lived in America, United States, very few Yidden who lived here. Why is it that we see that some families, very famous Reb Moshe, some families stayed very stark, and the children and the grandchildren and great-grandchildren stayed Erlich Yidden? Everyone, I'm sure, on this shiur knows certain mishpachos, certain families, that even though they came to the United States way, way, way back, they stayed stark, and they didn't give up Yiddishkeit. And then, unfortunately, in Ebach, there were so many families which the children didn't keep Yiddishkeit, and they intermarried, and so many of them, we don't even know where they are, because they got, misbalbal, they got mixed with the non-Jewish people. So famous Reb Moshe says, people lost their jobs. And what Reb Moshe says is such a deep concept, which sometimes we think that it only applies for this Yidden who lived over 100 years ago in the United States. But it's not this way. It applies to us. Meaning we have, if we have children, we have a wife and children, we have grandchildren, if we have friends and family, whoever it is, we are influential, and everyone surrounding us, everyone, we all have influence. We all influence other people. That's the way we are. It says Reb Moshe that when a person back in the days, if a person lost his job on Shabbos Kodesh, and the father came home, and he came home and he said, "Oi, I lost my job. I don't know what's going to be. Oi, next week I'll have to look for another job." This basically killed everything. The children, they said, "Why is it? Why do I need this? I don't need this." And they dropped everything. But when a tati came home and the tati said, "Wow, gewaldig, I lost another job because I'm a Erlich Yid. I'm so happy and excited." The children took this and they stayed, and it made an impression. There was a Yidden Square. His name was Rabbi Avram Rosenberg. He was one of the pioneers. He was also one of the Yidden who came to the United States way, way, way back. In his sukkah, he would have his pink slips that he got when he hung it up as nice sukkah. It's famous. Lots of Yidden did it, but he hung up the pink slips in his sukkah that he got when he lost his job. And all of his children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, are Erlich Yid until today. When he came home, when he lost his job, it was with simcha, it was with excitement. It wasn't like, "Oi, why? Oi." This is basically the idea that we're talking about. Tachas Asher, the letters after Aleph Shin Reish, which is Shabbos. The problem that we have is, Lo yavadetas Hashem Elokecha b'simcha. We lose this simcha, the excitement of being a Yid. When we lose the excitement of being a Yid, we lose the excitement of Shabbos Kodesh. We lose the excitement of davening. We lose the excitement of learning. We lose the excitement of doing mitzvahs. Unfortunately, that's when the problems begin. And this is what the Chidush Harim says. We have to appreciate what Shabbos Kodesh is all about. And this is what the Oizerua says, one of the Rishonim, that this is the reason why we add so many additional parts to Shabbos Kodesh davening, because Hashem says, a whole week I listen to the Malachim, the praises of the Malachim. When it comes Shabbos, it's the Yiddish praises, the Yiddish zmiris, the Yiddish davening. This is what I listen to, and this is what gives me pleasure and simcha. Just to finish up, to wrap up the Shiur with another one or two thoughts, which is basically the same idea, basically what we spoke about. The Megala Amukis writes in his Sefer, he writes on the pasuk, Hashem Shima B'Koili Tiyeno Oznecha Kashuvois. It's the pasuk that we will say in the Aseres Yimei Tshuva, which is in Shira Amalois Mimamakim Kirosicha Hashem. The pasuk David HaMelech says, Hashem Shima B'Koili, listen to my voice. Tiyeno Oznecha, open up your ears, Kaviyachol, to listen to me. Says the Megale Amukos. Shima starts with a shin. Bikoili, the word Bikoili starts with a base. Tiena starts with a tuf, which is the Rosh Tevis Shabbos. Shabbos is a time where Hashem says, daven to me and I listen to you. Hashem Shima Bikoili Tiena, says the Megala Amukis, is the Rosh Tevis. Shima is shin. Bikoili is base. Tiena is tuf, which is Shabbos. That Shabbos is a day that Hashem listens to our tefillah. And therefore, when comes Shabbos Kodesh, it says in the Heilige Svarim, actually it's a Tkuna Zoyer, it's a Zoyer HaKodesh. The Zoyer HaKodesh says that the tefillas of Shabbos is in Shemayim. It's accepted in Shemayim like the tefillas of Aseres Yimei Tshuva. Just like we know that Aseres Yimei Tshuva, our tefillas have lots of power, as the Rambam says that Aseres Yimei Tshuva, Hashem listens to our tefillas more than the entire year. Our tefillas are niskabel, says the Rambam. It's accepted in Shemayim by Hashem. Says the Tkuna Zoya, every single Shabbos, if a person is excited with Shabbos, if a person lives with Shabbos and is uplifted with Shabbos Kodesh, the tefillas of Shabbos Kodesh are so powerful, and in Shemayim, it's accepted just like the tefillas of Aseres Yimei Tshuva. So Hashem, the Rebbeinu Shalom, should help. We should all have the schus that we should be zoiche, to be besimcha, to feel simcha in Yiddishkeit, simcha in being a Yid, proud of being a Yid, simcha, happy that we have the schus to daven to Hashem, happy that we have the schus to connect to Him in so many different ways, which Hashem gave us in the Heilige Torah. And we should all be zoiche that we should have an amazing, amazing Shabbos, which should be the first of the two Shabbosim that the Chedusharim says, which should end the year in an amazing way, and we should be zoiche, taksiva v'chsimetoiva, shnaz geula v'yeshua. Hashem should give us shmira el yoina. We should be guarded in all corners of the world, that no one should chas v'shalom harm anyone, and no yid should be harmed. We should be zoiche to the big simcha of our chodesh al tzion toiv v'niske chulanu bebias Mashiach tzedkenu b'mheira b'yomeinu amen.